Hey, everyone. It's Othania here with Create Your Future. So today I have a very good video, and it is a subscriber's question. And let's get right into it, okay? And the subscriber asks through email how to forgive a specific person while manifesting them back, especially when you have resentment. Okay, and that is a very good question because that is what a lot of people that are especially wanting to have a relationship with someone. That is what a lot of people experience, the feelings of resentment. Um, okay, so let's break that down. What I would suggest if this person, were talking to me, um, through a chat and they asked me that, I would tell them um, in a code like I would in a normal coaching session. First, let's get through the resentment part, okay? Because as long as that resentment is still there, and as long as that resentment is still like alive and like you can feel it like burning within you, or when you think about that person, you start feeling the anxiety. That has to be handled. Yes, you can affirm through it, but for some people, there's still something in the back of the mind that's still there that still has to be worked through. Because as long as you can be affirming up here in your conscious mind for the best all day. But if you still have something back here that's kind of like feeling like it can't escape you, that's going to manifest instead. And your experience is going to be very, whoa, like a roller coaster, okay, emotionally. So, um, you want to work through that resentment part. And working through the resentment part is something you cannot force, no matter how bad you want the speed of things to go. When it comes to manifesting a person, this is not about manifesting a house. This is not about manifesting a car. This is about manifesting something that you have a really deep emotional attachment to. Okay, and that is what is the issue, the main issue with a lot of things. How do we break free through that emotional attachment? Well, first, it takes understanding that it is a natural process. You cannot rush that process of trying to get through those feelings, because then you're going to cause resistance with that, and then you also have to understand what you resist will persist. Okay, so how do we work through that process the right way? Um, what I did in my experience, what works for me, and what I also tell my clients is to, okay, let's get everything on paper. Let's see what you're thinking. Because you can think you can, always think your thoughts in your mind. But when you actually see what you're thinking, when you write it down and you see what you're thinking, it becomes a little more clear. And also, it's like you create more mind space when you take what you're thinking and putting it to paper in a way. So that helps extremely. Um, Being aware of what you're thinking when you think about that person. Okay, so if you think about that person and you feel anxiety, you're starting to feel a bunch of anxiety. That is a very strong indication that okay, there's something that has to be worked through here in order to break through that barrier and get to the desires that you want to have. So you want to okay, understand I do feel this way. I have these negative feelings towards this person, but now I have to break this down. And it also takes you being patient with yourself, because the reason why you also have a lot of resentment towards this person, which we cannot forget, is because that is an indication that your thoughts were building a momentum of fear based, what can go wrong, um, mostly a mixture of feeling like not being chosen. So you can't fully have resentment as well towards the person because you have to remember that there was something within you that was living within you that was strong more dominantly that pushed out um and caused separation, um or resentment, things like that. um so you work through the resentment by coming back to self as well. There's a lot of things that you do that factor in that you have to do simultaneously to work to getting back to yourself, all right? And that's becoming aware of what you're thinking. Okay, I feel this way. I feel resentment. Okay. Um, Let me write out why I feel this resentment. Let me see what I'm thinking. Let me not just keep it in my head and just, no, let me take the time out and actually see what I'm thinking. Okay, this is why I feel resentment. Hmm. All right. Now, if I feel resentment towards this person, then that means that there was something that I was thinking that was unfavorable, right? Now, why was I thinking unfavorable? Was I feeling like I wasn't being chosen? And then you have to backtrack and understand everything that you was thinking before it mumble jumbled into a feeling of resentment. Right. So now you got to work on, okay, I become aware of those feelings with that person. Now it's time to work on being whole and complete to get back to myself, to feeling more um, joy and peace within myself. Because if you're feeling a feeling of resentment, right? Listen, I know what that feels like, the feeling of resentment and wanting to get the person back at the same time. I know what that feels like. And now you have to work on getting peace back within yourself. Okay. And now you got to get back to, okay, what can I do to focus on me? What my dance classes, what watching a movie, going to the gym, taking a walk, spending time with my child, my children, my friends or family, whatever, little joys throughout the day, doing that. And then you also have to fix your thoughts around the situation, right? Now that you are aware of the resentment, once you become, put it like this, if you're trying to manifest full of all these feelings and not understanding, and you're just rushing and trying to, I want this, I want this, I want this, yeah, you can get it, but you still haven't worked through why you keep going through that cycle. You haven't worked through why you have these feelings of resentment, right? So if you sweep some, just like how when you sweep things under the rug, it's still under the rug. You haven't cleaned it. You just swept it under the rug. It's still there. You know what I mean? So you can affirm all day for what you want, but the dirt is still under the rug that you haven't cleaned up. And that's when you properly clean something up. When you under the rug, it's like a deep clean. Once you deep clean, it's a clean slate. And when you manifest from that place, when you create and think from that place of your body within, it's even better than what you imagine or what you thought you could imagine. So working through that resentment is very important, and you have to work through why do I feel these feelings of resentment? What were you thinking? And this is the part where you have to be absolutely honest with yourself, because if you're not honest with yourself, it's not going to work. If you're not honest with anything, it's really not going to work. So that's why they say honesty is just the best policy with everything, because it gives you clarity on what's really going on within. If you're lying to yourself, then you can't get the proper solutions because you're getting solutions for your lies. So you have to tell the truth. Be honest with yourself. What were you thinking? What were you thinking? Were you thinking that um if you notice, like, maybe you guys went on a few dates and then all of a sudden the next date he had to go to work, and then you took that as, oh my God, he doesn't want to spend time with me. And then next thing you know, you're perpetuating circumstances that make you feel like you're not chosen, because just from that one time where he had to go to work or do something else and you took it as not being chosen, you didn't realize now you started building a timeline of you not being chosen because of the thoughts you started building from that one time that he was busy. Do you understand? It only takes one thought to build on, and now you're on that timeline. So you have to be really careful about what you're thinking. And just as easy it is for you to get on that timeline, it is just as easy for you to get on another one and create better circumstances. Um, but it's just a matter of understanding that your reality is reflecting what you're thinking and creating in here in your mind, in your imagination. So, and whatever you're constantly thinking and creating is always going to be at some point impressed in the subconscious, and that's when it's going to push out into your reality. So that's why it's best to work through the resentment, because if you still are being conscious saying this, that, and the third here, but you still have resentment back here, it's going to come together like this, and you're going to have circumstances that show the resentment and him still coming around, and it's not going to be completely what you want because both are still present in the mind. Okay, completely. So you have to clear that resentment, because once it's gone, once the dirt is under the rug, it's a real deep clean, and you can now make room for the new, because there's space. You understand? You get my drift? So that's how you do it. You want to get through the resentment, understand how you got there, be honest with yourself. What were you thinking? Clear that up, clear that out. Forgive, accept where you are. All that is works wonders, acceptance, because you cannot have acceptance and resistance at the same time. You're either resisting or you're accepting. And resisting, what you resist will only persist. So whatever it is that you're resisting is only going to continue. Once you accept something, it stops, because now the feeling in your body is different, and that the thoughts in your mind are also different, right? Because it's all following the mind. So make clearing that resentment the first step. And you know that the resentment is getting cleared when you think of that person, and it's either feelings of like neutrality, like, you know, peace, calmness, acceptance, or you're laughing when you think about them, thinking about jokes and good times, like you're having more of those vibes. And you're having more of those vibes with yourself as well. When you're just feeling like, okay, world, like I'm fine. I'm good. I'm great. When you're there, that's how you know, especially in the relation to the thing that the person that you had resentment towards, when you start feeling that is a shift. That is a shift. You have shifted, which means the circumstances have shifted, which means that this person has to show up differently towards you now. I've seen this happen time and time and time again in my reality, and I at a point where I'm like, okay, yeah, yeah, this is true. So make sure that resistance is clear, that resentment is clear, because that resentment is resistance. And think about, be honest with yourself. What thoughts were you having? Not just with this person, but also in love generally, about yourself. Because a lot of the time we could think like, yeah, I'm affirming, I'm the one, I'm this, I'm that. But then you're not even realizing subconsciously you're thinking of the old story again. That's how insidious the subconscious mind is. That is the perfect word for it. That is insidious. That is how insidious the subconscious mind is. You're not even realizing it. And then right when you're thinking you're gonna hold on it, it's like, oh, 3D became unfavorable right right before your eyes. But also know right before your eyes again, it can snap just like this back to favorable. Because your SP, not just your person, just everything in your world is reflecting with you in relation to your assumptions and thoughts towards those particular things or generally speaking as well. So if you generally have an assumption that all men lie, but then you're in a relationship with someone that's a man, and then he ends up doing something where he's not honest with you, then you got to be honest with yourself about what you think and your assumptions are generally are. You have to clean that up, right? Because you can have an assumption, you can be affirming, I'm always chosen, I'm always chosen, I'm always chosen, and then also have an assumption that men lie. And then what will happen is you'll be chosen, but then the men you date will also lie to you. So you have to clean up everything and align up everything as much as possible because the subconscious mind is insidious. And you'll be thinking something that you're not even realizing that you're thinking, right? For example, it's like, this is what I used to do. And like if I'll be talking to my SP and then he hangs up the phone, I'm like, oh my God, who's he talking to? You know, it's like, okay, now you're creating unfavorable stories without you even realizing that's what you're doing. No, he's not. He's always good and honest to me no matter what he's doing. And that's the story you want to stick to. That's what you want it to be. That's how you want the subconscious mind to be insidious in favorable ways. Because right now it's insidious in unfavorable ways. You want it to be insidious in a good way, right? In the best way. You want your mind to always be on autopilot for the best. So another thing that works when it comes to if you have resentment towards your person, forgiving them, and especially forgiving yourself because they are you. When you forgive yourself, they have to forgive you too. And it's not about when you do these techniques, or I don't want to say techniques, but when you do these processes, when you do, whatever works for you, it's about not feeling like you have to check to see if it's working. Because if you still kind of checking to see if it's working, it's kind of still not genuine, right? It's not done, right? Like when you're making like say a chicken in the oven, right? It's like if you're constantly opening, checking, the chicken is going to take longer to be done. It's not that it won't be done. It's just going to take a little longer. You know what I mean? And yeah, sometimes you got to, you know, make sure you baste chicken or whatever the case may be and check to see if it's done and turn it or whatever the case may be, but that is equivalent to you doing what's best for you, right? All that other stuff, if you're like, yeah, you have to open the oven and check the chicken and stuff like that, but that's normal. That's you taking care of you. You obsessively opening and checking the chicken is the same thing as you checking the 3D, which is equivalent to delaying the process, which is also equivalent to delaying the process of your chicken being cooked. Right? You get what I mean? So I pray I kind of explained that right. But you work through how you feel. Always work through how you feel. Yes, I don't even want to say robotic affirming, but affirming, constantly saying your new thoughts does work, right? Being persistent, robotic affirming. Because I don't like to say robotic affirming because some people will run and take that as something else and do it the wrong way, and then their results come slower because it's not what they thought it meant. Robotic affirming just really means staying consistent in that story. So stay consistent in your new story. Forgive yourself, forgive your person. Um, I want to wrap this up in the most best, clear, simple way. So I'm gonna repeat the question one more time, and then I'm just gonna wrap it all up. So, how to forgive a specific person while manifesting them back, especially when you have resentment. Forgive yourself, forgive them, be aware of why you had the resentment, what led up to that, and never think that way again. And I mean that. Never think that way again as much as you can. You want to think the opposite. Whatever you wrote down as your feelings of resentment as to why, you want to shift everything into a positive as much as possible, especially if you are someone who has never written down what they think. You might want to start writing down what you think just to give evidence to yourself of the shift that will occur in you when you do things like that. Um, Write it down. Look at what got you there. Be honest with yourself because being honest in this process is the only way that's is going to take you where you want to be. Lying to yourself, no, 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 I wasn't. It's not going to work. You have to be honest. Um, and then also finding ways to get back to whole and peace and feeling joy within yourself. Because really, what manifesting your person back is manifesting yourself back. That's really what it is. And when I mean manifesting yourself back, it's getting yourself to a point where you're fine. Well, you're fine. You know that moment when this is like not even nothing to do with your specific person, but like that moment where you're kind of like, oh, whatever, I don't even care about dating. And then all of a sudden that person comes in. That feeling that you had that you didn't care about dating is kind of the feeling you want to have even when you're dating or even when you're with that person. Like that kind of I'm so whole and complete within myself. It's like whatever. That's the trick. You don't want to lose that feeling because that was the state that got you that person in the first place. It was the state that you started filling your mind with worry and unfavorable thoughts that put you in another state that caused you to feel ways and with momentum build resentment towards your person. So forgive yourself and forgive anyone that you can think of that has hurt you. Clear all of it out. And when you do that, when you start feeling neutral, when you start feeling better, when you start feeling like I don't have resentment towards this person anymore, then manifest from that place. And then you will see how fast things will shift in your favor. Because anytime I had resentment towards someone and I genuinely let it go, and I genuinely came to this place where I just literally felt like, fine. It literally happened each time it happened within minutes to no longer than 2 days. Each time, no matter how long I was manifesting what I was manifesting before, whether I was trying to get somebody back for a year before, like before I was doing coaching or whatever it was I was manifesting. Once, it doesn't matter how long I was doing it. Once I hit that point where it was just like a feeling of happiness and peace. And I just kept telling myself, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm great. And once I really settled in that, and it was like, it took no, like a minute to 2 days, no longer than that. So that's why I say also, because I know from my experience how I seen the magic happen in my life. Whenever I wanted to manifest someone back. It always came quick when I let go of the resentment. So that's why I make sure I let you know that it's very important to let go of that resentment. But you cannot force it. It is a natural process. But when you let it go, the shift will be instant. The shift will be instant. Your person will be back. You will not have to look for them. They will find you some way, somehow. They will find you. They will find you. But you also have to remember before I get out of here, resentment and love is and pure love, that happiness is not on the same it's not on the same, I don't like to say frequency, but frequency, vibe, energy, negative thoughts, positive thoughts, it's really all the same thing. What is really saying is, what are you thinking? Because what are you thinking is causing your feelings. Your feelings, that negative, whatever. Negative is going to cause negative circumstances, unfavorable. Unfavorable thoughts cause unfavorable circumstances. Favorable thoughts cause favorable circumstances. So resentment is part of the unfavorable, and you want to let go of that resentment. And you want to stick to the favorable. So forgive yourself, forgive your person. And when you start feeling like that resentment is gone, you ask yourself, how do I feel towards that person? Your body, your mind's going to tell you. You start feeling anxiety, okay, this is, I have to work through this. What am I thinking? Why am I thinking this? Work with yourself. Because when you're working with yourself and as you're releasing that, guess who's feeling all of that and shifting with you simultaneously and also instantaneously. So I intend that this has helped you. I intend that I've given you all the tools and answered your question. How do you manifest your SP back when you have resentment? You don't, because you can't really manifest them back with resentment. You can, but if that resentment is still there, that resting here, lingering here, that means at some point, if you don't clean that up, you're going to start taking actions from feeling of still having resentment. And if you're not really careful, it's going to crumble again. So that's why I say you work through that resentment. You forgive yourself and you forgive him, because the past is gone anyway. And every moment is a clean slate. So it's just best now to just think favorable about you and him. Rest in that. Keep doing things that bring you joy without your days. Be present. And before you know it, your SP will be back. You won't have to find him. You won't have to look. He will find you. And it will be very fast, especially because you work through that resentment. Do not hold on to that resentment as much as possible. Understand that your thoughts and what you created definitely played its part. Forgive yourself, like I said, because I just keep repeating myself because I just want to make sure that you really get it. Um, do things that make you happy within your days. You'll feel lighter and lighter, which gives you indication that the resentment is leaving your mind and your body, which gives you indication that your thoughts are starting to become more favorable. And as your thoughts are becoming more favorable, it's also giving you indication that it's moving you into a reality that is more desirable, because you can only be in a desired reality with desirable thoughts. And as you're feeling lighter, day by day, you're moving into the reality. And then next thing you know, he's back into your life without you having to do anything but getting your mind in a more desirable and favorable place towards yourself and towards him and towards love in general. So, if you're interested in coaching with me, there's a link in the description box below. Also, Create Your Future does have a free course to pinpoint your blocks. And if you're interested in that, you can also find the link for that in the description box below. So I intend that you work through that resentment, you get through it. Forgive yourself, forget it. The past is gone, it's done. And right now, this second, and the next second, and the next second after that, each present moment is a clean slate. You have your person. There is no more resentment, because You're together now and you got past that. You moved on past that. You moved on past that. And now you just think favorable thoughts because you moved on. Are you still going to be thinking about resentment when you're married to your person's 3-year anniversary? No, because you moved on already. So move on now. And then you'll see how fast you get to a timeline that you actually want to be on because you're thinking more favorable and you let go of that resentment. So I know it can be hard because trust me, I know. But once you really get to a place of feeling better towards your person, they have no choice but to feel better towards you too. All right? Because if you're feeling resentment towards them, then they can't come and love you how you want. Just let it go. Just like, you know what, resentment, I'm done with you, whatever. And just start with a clean slate. So, all right, I'm really gonna go now. So, until next time, guys. See you.